Okay, so the next topic is not so much a question as it is a general topic. BB shooters and frames and targets, etc. That's how it came in. All right, so let's talk about BB shooters. Now, when we say BB shooters, what we're generally referencing is the BBs that would go in your Red Ryder BB gun, a .177 caliber steel BB. Now, that's really small. The great thing about BBs is they're crazy cheap. You can, for maybe $10, get 6,000 rounds at just about any big box store. They're quiet. They're fairly innocuous. You can still, put an eye out for sure. They will shoot just as fast out of a Slingshot as they will, if not faster, than they will out of a Red Ryder BB gun. So they can do quite a bit of damage. Here's the great thing about BBs. Now, one of my good friends, Ray Bazanski, one of the best slingshot shooters I know, I attribute, and I think he probably would too if you were to ask him, his skill and success to a lot of time spent shooting BBs. The reason being is that BBs are so very tiny that you have to have a very precise release. If you can release a BB cleanly and consistently, moving to a larger size projectile is going to be a walk in the park. Another thing about BBs is you really can't see them in flight. They're moving so quickly and they're so small that you really have to have a sense of where your hand is in space. You don't have that feedback loop closing up by seeing the projectile in flight. Now, I already mentioned the economy of the BBs. Another great thing about BBs is you can shoot them indoors very safely. You can shoot them all around your yard. You're not going to be filling your yard up with larger steel balls. And you can get a lot more mileage out of your average soda can than you can with, say, 3/8 steel. 3/8 steel is going to shred them pretty quick. You can shoot at one soda can for days and just fill it up with holes. A lot of people think that you need to have a specific frame for shooting BBs. That's not the case at all. Any slingshot frame can be a BB shooter. It's all in the bands and the pouch. Now, certainly you can use a larger pouch, a pouch that might be suitable for, say, 3/8 to even 1/2-inch ammo, and yes, you can shoot BBs out of it. But you're going to need to attach that pouch to very, very lightweight, generally thin flat band rubber or thin tubes. And it just becomes inefficient. The BB will weigh a fraction of what your pouch does. So therefore, you're spending all the energy of the bands propelling the pouch and not necessarily the BB. So you want to use a matched setup. You want to use a pouch made for BBs, or at max, say a 6.35 millimeter steel ball or 1/4-inch steel ball. And you want to use generally really thin bands, something like TheraBand Blue or a 0.4 millimeter thick latex, cut really thin. In doing so, you get very, very light resistance, and it gives you the ability to feel to release that much more. If you're using a lot of resistance, not only is it wasted energy, but you can't necessarily feel the release. So light bands, small pouch on any frame. Likewise, if you want to shoot a tiny frame, that's great too, but the frame has very little bearing on it. Now, as far as targets go, the world's your oyster. Ping pong balls are great because the BB will impart a lot of movement on the ping pong ball when you hit it. Cans are great, but you can't really knock over a can with a BB. Oftentimes they'll just zip right through it. But any target works. The key with BB shooting is all about the release. So if you really want to take your slingshot shooting to the next level, become highly skilled with BBs, and I can guarantee that when you step up to a larger projectile and heavier bands, you'll be all the better for it. They're a whole lot of fun and a great way to introduce kids to the sport. Thanks for that question.